My girlfriend doesn't know she's dead. When I first met Emily, she was exactly my type. Quiet, kind, a little shy. We met at a bookstore, reached for the same Stephen King novel, and started dating 2 weeks later. Everything felt perfect until the night I found her journal. It was tucked behind my couch cushions like it was hiding. The first page read, "If you're reading this, I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm real anymore." At first, I thought it was just poetic. Emily was always sensitive, but over time I started noticing things. She never blinked. She never ate. She never slept in my bed. Just watched me from the chair in the corner, smiling faintly. One night I asked, "Do you ever sleep?" She laughed. "I'm afraid I'll forget who I am if I close my eyes." I decided to ask her mom about it. Her face went white. "Emily died 3 years ago," she said, voice shaking. "She drowned in a lake, trying to save a child that wasn't there." I stared at her, frozen. Then her mom whispered, "You're not the first boy to bring her back." That night I found another journal entry. "The lake calls to me. I can feel the cold in my bones, but I don't want to go back alone." As I read, I heard the water running, except I don't have a sink in my bedroom. I turned. Emily was standing by the window, dripping, smiling, holding my hand in hers. "Come with me," she whispered. "This time I won't drown alone." That night I couldn't sleep. Her words echoed in my mind. "This time I won't drown alone." I stared at her dripping figure by the window, the coldness radiating off her skin like frost. "Emily, what do you mean?" I asked, voice trembling. She smiled wider, eyes glinting like dark pools. "The lake is waiting. It wants me back. It's lonely." I reached out, but my hand passed through hers. She wasn't real. Not really. Suddenly, the sound of water filled the room. It seeped from the walls, the floor, pooling at my feet. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Emily's voice whispered right in my ear, chilling and distant. "Come with me. Forever." The next morning I was alone. No sign of Emily, no water, just the damp chill lingering in the air. I found her journal on the bedside table. A new page had appeared. "You tried to save me once. Now it's your turn." Days passed, and I started seeing her everywhere. In reflections, in crowds, always watching, sometimes smiling, sometimes crying. I knew the lake was calling me, and I knew if I went, I might never come back. Days turned into restless nights. The water's presence lingered. Cold dampness under my feet, whispers in the dark, a faint scent of lakeweed in the air. Emily's voice followed me like a haunting melody. One evening I found a cracked photograph on the floor of us by the lake, but the water behind me was dark, swirling with shadows, and Emily's eyes in the photo glowed unnaturally. I knew then the lake wasn't just a place. It was something else. A trap. A prison. I confronted Emily. "Why won't you let me go?" Her face twisted. No longer the gentle girl I loved, but something cold and empty. "Because you belong here now. We belong here." I tried to pull away, but icy hands gripped my wrist. No, her hands. She dragged me towards the window again. Outside, the moonlight shimmered over the lake's surface. It rippled unnaturally, like it was alive. I struggled, desperate to break free, but her grip tightened. "Join me," she whispered. "The lake never forgets." I gasped for air as the cold seeped through my skin, dragging me toward the window, toward the lake that shimmered like a dark, living thing beneath the moonlight. I fought with every ounce of strength left in me, pulling back against Emily's icy grip, but it was no use. She smiled, her eyes now completely black, endless voids pulling me in. "Don't fight," she whispered, voice echoing like water dripping in a cavern. "You belong with me now, forever." Suddenly the window shattered, sending shards of glass into the night air. I stumbled backward, landing hard on the floor. The room flooded with water, cold, dark, alive. The last thing I saw before I was pulled under was Emily's face, close to mine, lips parted in a sad, haunting smile. I woke up on a cold shore gasping. The sun was rising, casting light on a lake that looked peaceful. But inside me, I felt the coldness linger, like the lake had taken a piece of my soul. When I looked down, my hands were wet, and in my pocket, I found Emily's journal, open to a new, blank page. I knew it was waiting for me to write the next chapter. I sat on the cold shore, shivering as the first light of dawn broke over the lake. My heart pounded, but the cold inside me didn't fade. It felt like something followed me out of the water, something waiting, watching. I pulled Emily's journal from my pocket. The blank page seemed to shimmer faintly, as if alive. Then words began to appear. You survived, but you are not free. A chill ran down my spine. I looked back at the lake. Its surface rippled, though there was no wind. And just beneath, I thought I saw a face, Emily's face, smiling, beckoning. Back at my apartment, nothing felt the same. The mirrors no longer reflected me properly. Sometimes they showed Emily standing behind me, silent, her eyes empty. I tried to tell people, but no one believed me. They said I looked exhausted, paranoid. I was trapped between two worlds, alive, but haunted. Every night, the water seeped through the walls, cold and dark, whispering. One night, I heard a knock at the door. I opened it. No one was there, just a soaked note on the floor. It read, "You can never leave. The lake waits." Now every time I look in the mirror, I see Emily's smile, beckoning me back to the water. And I know one day I'll have to go, because the lake never forgets, and it always takes what it's owed. Weeks passed, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Shadows moved just beyond my vision. The air smelled faintly of damp earth and decay. One evening I found a package slipped under my door. Inside was a small, intricately carved wooden box. Inside the box, a single black feather. I'd never seen a bird with feathers like this before. Tied to the feather was a note in Emily's handwriting. "The lake remembers. The debt is not paid. You must return." Panic set in. I tried to leave town, but the roads seemed endless, looping me back toward the lake no matter which way I turned. At night, I dreamt of the girls, the other victims, trapped beneath the water, their faces pressed against the surface, begging for release. Emily's voice echoed in my mind, whispering, "Join us soon." Determined to end this, I sought out Miss Clara, an old woman rumored to know the lake's dark history. She told me, "The lake feeds on souls. Every few decades it demands a sacrifice. Margot, Annabelle, the others, they are prisoners, bound to its depths. You must break the curse or join them forever." She handed me a faded map, marking a spot deep in the forest where the lake's power was said to be weakest. Armed with the map and a fierce will to survive, I prepared for the final confrontation. The lake was waiting, and this time I was ready. The night was thick with fog as I followed the faded map through the dense forest. Every snap of a twig echoed like a gunshot in the silence. My heart pounded, not just from fear, but determination. Ahead, the trees opened to a narrow clearing, where the lake's surface was unnervingly still, like black glass. I could feel its pull, cold and relentless, clutching an old silver locket Miss Clara had given me. A family heirloom said to ward off dark spirits. I stepped closer to the water's edge. Suddenly, the water rippled violently. Emerging from the depths was Emily, no longer the girl I loved, but a spectral figure, eyes glowing with sorrow and rage. "You can't save me," she whispered, "but you can end this." The wind howled as shadows rose from the lake, faces of the lost girls swirling in the mist, reaching for freedom. I closed my eyes, whispered a prayer Miss Clara taught me, and held the locket high. A blinding light erupted, piercing the fog. The shadows screamed, then vanished beneath the waves. The lake stilled, the oppressive weight lifted. Emily's spirit appeared once more, a gentle smile replacing the rage. "Thank you," she said softly, before dissolving into a cascade of shimmering water droplets. The curse was broken. The lake returned to its peaceful state, and I was finally free. Weeks after the lake's curse was lifted, life began to return to normal, or so I thought. The nightmares faded, and the whispers stopped. The mirror reflections were once again just reflections. But sometimes, when the wind was just right, I even started to feel warmth where the cold had gripped me. I could still hear faint singing, an echo from beneath the water. One evening, while cleaning out old boxes in my attic, I found a weathered photograph tucked inside Emily's journal. It showed a group of girls, Margot, Annabelle, Emily, and others I hadn't known, standing by the lake, their smiles frozen in time. And in the background, just beyond the trees, a shadowy figure watched. The curse might be broken, but the watcher remaining. Weeks passed after I found the photograph. But that shadowy figure in the background haunted my every thought. Who or what was watching us all along? One night as I stared at the lake under a silver moon, a new chill crawled up my spine. The water, though calm, began to ripple without wind. I sensed a presence, silent and watching. I decided to return to the town's old library, searching for any mention of the watcher. The dusty archives whispered of an ancient guardian bound to the lake, neither friend nor foe, known only as the Warden. It ensured the balance between worlds, punishing those who dared break the natural order. But the curse breaking had disturbed that balance. The Warden was awake. That night, as I lay in bed, shadows lengthened unnaturally. From the corner of the room, a figure emerged. Tall, cloaked, eyes like cold embers. "You've meddled where you shouldn't," it intoned. "But the debt is not yet paid." I realized then, breaking the curse was only the beginning. The Warden demanded a new price. The room grew cold as the Warden stepped closer, its presence pressing down like a heavy fog. Its eyes glowed like embers in the dark, burning into my soul. "You thought you could escape the lake's claim," it whispered, voice like dry leaves rustling. "But every debt must be paid." I tried to speak, to plead, but my voice caught in my throat. The Warden raised a hand, and the walls seemed to bleed shadows. From the darkness, ghostly hands reached for me, echoes of the lost girls, their silent screams filling the air. "I offer you a choice," the Warden said. "Join them below, or become the new guardian above. To protect the balance, you must sacrifice yourself." Panic surged, but beneath it, a flicker of resolve. I couldn't let this happen again. Not to me, not to anyone. "Is there another way?" I asked, voice trembling but firm. The Warden paused, then nodded slowly. "The lake's curse is ancient. It can be broken, but only with a ritual forgotten by time. You must retrieve the Mirror of Souls, hidden deep beneath the lake's surface. Only then can the cycle end." I swallowed hard, knowing the dangers that awaited beneath the water's dark veil. The Warden's eyes softened briefly. "Time is short. Choose wisely." The next morning I returned to the lake. Fog blanketed the water like a veil, and the wind was dead still. In my pocket I carried Emily's locket. Around my neck hung a charm Miss Clara had pressed into my hand before vanishing from town. Days earlier, a thin silver coin etched with strange runes. I stepped into the lake. It was colder than death. Each step pulled me deeper, the surface swallowing the sky, until darkness wrapped around me like a second skin. There was no bottom, only pressure, blackness, and the distant echo of voices. Then, light, faint and flickering like a flame underwater. I swam toward it. It wasn't a flame at all, but a doorbell, half buried in the lake bed, a massive iron frame, carved with twisted faces, all screaming silently. At the center, a cracked mirror, the Mirror of Souls, As I reached out, something grabbed my ankle. Cold, strong, relentless. I looked down, a pale, bloated hand, and another, and another. Dozens of drowned souls. They weren't angry. They were afraid. One girl, Margot, floated up before me. Her eyes were hollow. "If you take it," she whispered, "you become it." I hesitated, but I had come too far. I had to try. With one final breath, I reached through the water, my fingers brushing the mirror. The moment I touched it, everything exploded in light, the truth above and below. I woke, gasping, on the shore. The mirror lay beside me, whole again. No cracks. Its surface shimmered unnaturally, like a pool inside a pool. I didn't recognize the world around me. The trees were bent at strange angles, and the sky pulsed like a heartbeat. I'd crossed into a space between life and death, a realm the warden ruled. "You've brought it back," he said, appearing without sound. "But can you use it?" I stood, clutching the mirror. The warden circled me like a shadow come to life. "One command," he said. "Speak it into the glass. Free the trapped souls, or claim the lake as your domain." I thought of Emily, Margot, Annabelle, all the girls who were never buried, never mourned. I raised the mirror. My voice didn't shake. "I command the lake to release them." The mirror burned with white fire. The surface cracked, and through it, I saw the faces of the dead begin to rise, breaking free. A scream tore through the world. Not mine. The warden's. He staggered, collapsing into mist. The mirror shattered. Epilogue. The surface holds its breath. The lake is still now. Too still. No more voices. No more ripples. Locals say the air feels lighter, like something old has passed on. But I know better. Some nights, I hear the faint flutter of wings in the trees, and in my dreams, a mirror reforms itself, piece by jagged piece. The souls are free, but something still waits beneath the lake. Something ancient, something hungry, and one day it will call again. The hollow shore spreads. Vera song. 3 nights after I stepped into the lake, I woke up in my childhood bedroom, soaked to the bone, gasping like I'd been held underwater for hours. But I wasn't dead. I was changed. In the mirror, my reflection blinked a second too late. My shadow didn't follow me perfectly anymore, and sometimes, when I spoke, I could hear a second voice behind mine. Emily's, not the kind, sweet Emily I once loved, but the one who remembered drowning, the one who remembered betrayal, the one who had seen the warden's true face. The lake arrives. The lake was no longer just a place. It was a presence. It rained for 6 days straight. The edges of town began to flood. But it wasn't just rain. It was black water, thick, cold, smelling faintly of roses and rot. People tried to leave. They never made it past the tree line. One man was found floating inside his own car, dry lungs, drowned anyway. Another woman walked into the grocery store mirror and never came out. I knew what this meant. The lake was expanding, and Emily, or the thing wearing her grief like a gown, was helping it spread. Buried beneath the floorboards of the old cabin where I first saw her reflection, I found a metal tin sealed with wax. Inside were letters, yellowed and decayed, written in ink so faint I could barely read it. They called her Vera. She was the first, a priestess, a daughter, a sacrifice. She drowned by choice, not for death but for rebirth. The girls they take become her mirrors. They reflect her rage, her heartbreak, her endless grief. The warden doesn't rule her. The warden is her prisoner. He watches the gate so she can roam. There was one last note, written on a scrap of cloth. "You can't destroy the lake, but you can choose who it mirrors next." I see her. Emily stands in my kitchen every night at 3:09 a.m. She's not solid, not vapor, something in between. She doesn't speak. She just watches me with sad eyes and mouths the same 3 words. You left me, and maybe I did. Maybe I wasn't there when the ice broke. Maybe I looked away for too long. But now I know. She never wanted to be saved. She wanted to be remembered. And now that I do, she won't let me forget. Riley's return. A knock on my door at dawn. I open it. Riley, pale, wet, barefoot, hair slick with lake water, and behind her eyes, something else. She doesn't say hi. She says, Vera has chosen another, then collapses. When I revive her, she doesn't remember anything. No lake, no reflection, nothing. But she draws circles on napkins, speaks Latin in her sleep, hums Emily's lullaby, and most of all, she's afraid of her own shadow. A teenage girl from the next town over posts a TikTok showing her friend staring into a lake mirror during a hike. The caption, she says she's not alone in there. An hour later, the girl disappears. 3 days later, a neighbor sees her doppelganger standing outside her house, wearing her same clothes, same smile, but crying backward. The lake isn't local anymore. It's anywhere a mirror stands. Now Vera doesn't need a lake to reflect in. She needs eyes, screens, belief. In a fever dream, I see it all. Emily didn't drown on accident. She followed a voice into the lake. She offered herself to bring me back. But it didn't bring me. It brought Vera, and Emily became her mirror. Now it's my turn. The curse always takes two. One to love, one to remember. I wasn't the survivor. I was the next door. The lake is in every puddle, every screen, every reflection. Emily watches you brush your hair. Riley walks past your window. Vera whispers to your dreams. And somewhere in a quiet town, a man wakes up soaked, hearing a voice say, "You left her behind." And he knows it's already too late. Would you like the next arc to follow? Riley, who may be possessed but fighting it. A new town, facing the curse for the first time. Or a found footage format uncovering lost tapes of Emily's drowning and Vera's origin. Riley stopped blinking 2 nights ago. She stared out the window for hours, humming softly. Always the same tune Emily used to hum while folding laundry. I tried talking to her, touching her shoulder, even shouting her name. Nothing worked. But then she whispered a single word, Vera, and turned to me with 2 sets of pupils in each eye. She's remembering through me, Riley said. She's using my brain like a museum. I can feel her, walking through memories that aren't hers. She closed her eyes. She's looking for someone. The dream of the drowned. That night, Riley collapsed. I caught her just before her skull hit the tile floor. As she lay unconscious, she mumbled something I'd only heard in the lake. The warden was never a guardian. He was the first man to betray her. He locked her in the water to silence her grief. But grief leaks in her sleep. Riley cried tears of black water. I recorded her voice. When I played it backward, a clear sentence emerged. Bring me to where I first died. Black Rose Cemetery. Riley woke at dawn and demanded we drive northeast, into the mountains. She said she'd remembered a grave. Not Emily's, not a recent one. We found it buried under moss and snow. Vera Hale, 1682, 1699, carved on weathered slate. No dates of birth or death, only a symbol scratched into the stone. A mirror with a single crack. As Riley knelt, her breath fogged into a perfect circle, and the air went silent. No birds, no wind. Even the snow stopped falling midair. Then a voice inside her, not hers, said, "This body fits better than the last one." Reflections with the teeth. We fled the cemetery, but every car mirror, window pane, and puddle along the roadside reflected Riley alone. Not me. In the motel that night, I watched her in the bathroom mirror brushing her teeth until I realized she was standing behind me, watching too. The girl in the mirror wasn't brushing. She was smiling, her mouth full of tiny, black, fish-like teeth. She whispered, "You watched her drown. Now you'll watch her rise." And behind her I saw more figures. Dozens of girls in soaked dresses, rising behind the mirror glass like ghosts on a stage. The warden's doom. Desperate, I returned to the lake alone. I dove at dusk, following the glowing thread of memory Riley had shown me in her dream. At the bottom was a stone door. When I touched it, the water trembled, and the door opened. Inside, the warden, bound by chains of weeping willow and hair. His eyes were seared shut, but he spoke. She's unsealed now. You broke the mirror and freed her reflection. There are no more watchers, only witnesses. If you wish to stop her, you must offer your own grief in her place. The price of grief. Back on land, I knew what he meant. Nevera's curse needs memory to survive. It spreads through those who carry pain. I had been holding on to Emily's death for too long. I burned everything. Her letters, her photos, her sweater, her necklace. I even deleted every message, every voice note. But when I looked into the mirror again, I saw Riley drowning, and Emily smiling, and Nevera's hand on both their shoulders. It wasn't my grief she wanted. It was my guilt, and I had more than enough of it to last 1,000 lifetimes. The broadcast, the final horror came through a live stream. A girl on a hiking trip went missing. Her friend, frantic, opened Instagram Live, asking viewers for help. Behind her, a window, and in that window, Emily's face. The comments exploded. Then, the screen glitched. Her friend froze, then turned slowly to the camera and said, "You see her now, don't you? You've remembered her too." The phone dropped, and the stream continued without her, still running, still showing the mirror, still pulling in viewers, thousands, millions, and still, she waits. Vera doesn't need a lake anymore. She is the lake. She is every mirror, every window, every feed. She waits behind bathroom lights, in the curve of dark glass, in the face of someone you almost remember. And Emily, she's smiling, because now I know. She never needed saving. She needed a witness. And now I see her. Would you like to begin a final act where the curse tries to consume the world entirely? Reveal a modern cult that worships Vera and spreads her curse intentionally. Explore Emily's soul as a trapped narrator inside Nevera's drowned mind.